Good afternoon and welcome back to the conversation stage. So far we've covered skills, diversity, intersectionality, cybersecurity and entrepreneurship, all really big, important issues that we all need to think hard about. But we're going to switch gear for this session because it's 3 p.m. and we all need a little bit of a mid-afternoon pick-me-up. So the conversation is pleased to bring you something a little lighter, something to get you energised and get you smiling. At last year's Open Data Summit, Open Data Institute Summit, there was a data game show, and we had to ask them if they could come and be part of AIUK 2022. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce your host, Gavin Freegard. Gavin is a freelance consultant on all things data and former programme director at the Institute for Government. And I have to warn you, there is a content warning with this session. You may see a picture of a very cute puppy. Over to you, Gavin.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of The Data Game, the world's first, the world's best, the world's only data game show. I'm Gavin Freegard, and I've no idea what I'm doing here either. For those of you new to the data game, welcome. For those of you returning to the data game, why? The first episode of the data game, as you've heard, was broadcast as part of the Open Data Institute Summit last November. You can watch that later on the ODI YouTube channel, and we're back by popular demand, apparently. We're delighted to bring you the second episode as part of the Alan Turing Institute's AIUK conference. Bigger, well, longer, better, there are some new rounds, and with a budget that has made it out of single figures. Just. I hope you've been enjoying AIUK so far. Considered debate about the great challenges of our age, new perspectives on data and AI, and engaging demonstrations of cutting-edge research are just some of the things that have been cut from the programme to allow us to do this instead. Jokes aside, really? The data game is designed, insofar as it's designed to do anything, for us to have some fun with data and AI, learn some facts about data and AI, and to make our contestants, a couple of data and AI experts, seriously reconsider their life choices. But don't think all of you joining us virtually will get away easily either. No, we'll be asking you to play along in various ways too, using the chat and Slido functions, which you should see at the right-hand side of your screen. But before I introduce our contestants, in a change to the format from last time, and in an almighty game of chicken, we're playing with the legal departments of various quiz show production companies, I'd like to introduce my co-host, my in no way pointless friend, Dr. Natalie Zelenka. Natalie, welcome.
Hello.
What on earth possessed you to do this, and are you regretting it yet?
Well, so far I feel like I've been let off the hook compared to our contestants, but you know there is still time for me to regret it.
Excellent. Well, hopefully we'll make it pleasurable-ish. Natalie will be on hand to give us some more detail about some of our answers and to award some points to our contestants. And one of her projects will be the focus of one of our rounds. More on that later. But now it's time to meet our contestants. It's too late to back out now. Millie, let's go to you first. Who are you, where are you from, and what have you got to do with data and AI?
Thanks, Gavin. I'm really happy to be here. So my name's Millie, and I work in data policy, which for lay people means I herd cats for a living. Most of these cats don't even belong to me, which, as you can imagine, makes the task even more challenging, potentially even more rewarding. Some of these cats are even Schrodinger's cats, which means no one's even sure if they exist. So I'm very, very rewarded in my work. Thank you.
I do work with you, Millie, so I'm slightly worried that I'm one of those cats that you're referring to.
None of the cats belong to me.
Now, we asked you to bring along a mascot. Would you like to introduce your mascot?
Thank you. Yes, so one of my best friends, in fact. Yeah. So this was a gift from a friend. So this is the wolf from the Red Riding Hood story. It's Red Riding Hood, and he comes with Granny too. So if all goes well in this quiz show, and this is to the audience, Granny stays safe. But if I start losing, I mean, bad things can happen to Granny. You know, you wouldn't want that. You wouldn't want that. So let's just hope I keep on doing well, and Granny can stay safe, and we can all be friends.
Excellent. Thanks, Millie. I don't really know how to follow that. Our next contestant is Nóra. Nóra, who are you? Where are you from? And what have you got to do with data and AI?
Well, thanks again, Gavin, for having me, and to everyone at the Turing for organising this very exciting session. I'm slightly on edge now. What's going to happen to Granny over there? But I will go on. So my name is Nóra Lijon, and I'm a senior lecturer and director of the Information Law and Policy Centre, one of the academic centres at the University of London's Institute for Advanced Legal Studies. I always have to take a break after that. It's quite a bit to cover. So I cover a number of topics concerning AI, such as state surveillance, gendered AIs like virtual personal assistants, data protection, data privacy, and lots of other related areas.
Excellent. And can we see your mascot for today?
Yes, so I thought I had to counter all of this chat about cats. So I have brought a duck, and my duck also is doubling as my buzzer for today's session. And this duck has also come from our home mascot. So Boffle, our home puppy, decided that he would give this quiz his blessing today and allow me to take his favourite toy. So nothing's going to happen to the puppy if I don't win this quiz. I just want to reassure everyone that nothing like that is on the line. Just my pride. That's.
Did you have his consent to take his toy? Or?
Absolutely. I may have given him numerous treats at the time, but it was freely given, and he read a number of documents regarding this quiz, and there were plenty of paw prints for explicit consent that were given. So,
excellent.
Absolutely, no question.
We were trying to make data protection as a joke work before we went live. It still doesn't. So we've heard your buzzer, Nóra. Millie, can we hear your buzzer, please?
Thank you. I've got an excellent buzzer. If I move it here, can it be seen by the camera? Does that work? Yep. Okay. I'm going to set it off now, so just sit back. That was it.
That was it.
That was brilliant, yeah. Shall I do it again?
Yeah, let's hear it one more time.
There it is.
Excellent. I think that's really going to help you during the buzzer round. It's almost a shame that the Turing have been so organised that they've bought some proper buzzers. So we won't actually be listening to yours again at any point during the show, but thanks for bringing them along. Let's move, at last, to our first round, which is the numbers game. Public trust and confidence in data and how it's used is vital. So in this round, I'm going to ask our contestants, and all of you in the audience, 5 multiple-choice questions based on polling on public attitudes towards data and AI. Our contestants will have around 15 seconds to think about their answers. In fact, we might be able to give you a pen, I think. If you want to write
Slightly
something.
disadvantaged,
Yep,
yes.
slightly disadvantaged. They're going to write, they'll log their answers in our very high-tech scoring system, which, as you can see, is pen and paper.
Thank you.
They'll have around 15 to 20 seconds to do that, and you at home watching virtually will also have around 15 to 20 seconds to vote for the right answer on Slido. Those 15 to 20 seconds will start once I've read out all the possible answers. Now, obviously, our contestants will be competing against one another. If both of them gets the question right, they get 1 point each. If only one of them gets the question right, that contestant gets 2 points. Why such a strange scoring system? Well, it's because there's a twist. As well as playing against one another, our contestants will be competing against you, our audience. You, the audience, will get 1 point for every question you get right as a whole. If at the end of the round you have more points than the highest scoring contestant, both contestants lose all of their points, rendering the entire exercise completely pointless, in more ways than one. So our contestants can choose to cooperate rather than compete in order to try to beat you, our hugely knowledgeable audience of hundreds. Or tens, however many it is. No pressure, audience, but you start as favourites here. After each answer, we'll go to Natalie for a bit of extra information. I would say that's to broaden our intellectual horizons. It's more so that we can see how you, the audience, has voted, given we're on a 15-second time delay. The data game, taking a sledgehammer to the fourth wall. So, without any further ado, let's go to our first question. According to a 2022 survey, What percentage of people said they knew little or nothing about how their data is used and collected in their day-to-day lives? Is it A, 62%, B, 52%, C, 42%, or D, 32%? Your time starts now. You can choose to cooperate, remember. You're playing against the audience as well. But I know how competitive you two are already, so we'll see.
Gavin, stirring things up. Nóra.
Got about 5 seconds left.
I can't remember the numbers.
62%, 52%.
That's such a shame.
I'm going to write the percentage. Thanks, Nóra.
Excellent. So I think that's time up.
Okay.
Nóra, what answer did you go for?
I went for C.
So you went for C, 42%. Millie, what did you go for?
The first one you said, 62%, Gavin.
So we've got 62%, we've got a 42%. The correct answer is B. 52% of people said they knew little or nothing about how their data is used and collected in their day-to-day lives. Natalie, have you got a bit more information for us?
Yeah, first piece of information I had is, sorry Nóra, I thought you were asking for the answers when you asked for a piece of paper. And that's why I said no. But a more useful piece of information is some other stats from the survey. So people were saying how comfortable they felt with their data being used in different contexts. 81% of them said that they would be comfortable with the NHS using their data to develop new healthcare treatments. 69% of them said that they'd be happy for scientists to use their data to address big societal issues. And 51% of them said they'd be happy for companies to use them to tailor products and services.
Excellent, thank you. I'm just looking at how our audience have scored, and I think they've already jumped ahead to the next question rather than that one. So I'm sure we'll come back to how the audience did on the question where we've already given the answers away. Excellent. So let's now move on to question number 2, which is... I think I've actually lost my... Do you mind if I borrow your question then, Natalie?
No
Thank you very
peeking.
much. No peeking. So, a 2019 survey asked people how aware they were of different applications of AI. One of those applications was speech recognition. What was the difference between the percentage of men who said they knew a lot or a fair amount about AI and speech recognition and the percentage of women who said the same? Were men A, 5 percentage points higher, B, 15 percentage points higher, C, 25 percentage points higher, or D, 35 percentage points higher? Your time starts now.
Hi, Nóra.
Hello.
It's a deadlock.
I know.
Got about 5 seconds left.
Good effort.
Thank you.
Let's see your answers.
Great negotiation techniques.
So Nóra has gone for D, which is 35 percentage points higher. Millie, what have you gone for?
There's my answer. I don't know if you can see it.
You've gone for C, 25 percentage points higher. I can tell you one of you is correct. The correct answer is Millie, 25 percentage points higher.
Granny's safe.
For now. For now.
Keeping the wolf from the granny.
So it's 67% of men that said they knew a lot or a fair amount, while only 42% of women did. So men felt more informed than women about all applications of AI. For example, for driverless vehicles, it was 55% of men knew about it versus 29% of women. And for facial recognition, it was 61% of men versus 41% of women. There are also differences in age. So younger people were more likely to be informed. More affluent people were more likely to be informed, and people with a high science capital were also a lot more informed about the applications of AI.
Excellent. We should probably underline that none of that means that men do know more about AI. It just means that they're more confident in blagging it. So let's move on to the third question. Once we've had a look at how our audience did, our audience also got that one right. So we've got Millie on 1 point, the audience on 1 point, and Nóra, good luck with the next one.
Time for a celebratory buzz, I think.
Great. So, question 3. According to a 2020 survey, when asked whether they thought the development of machines or robots that can think and make decisions in the next 20 years will mostly cause harm or mostly help, 43% of Europeans and 47% of North Americans said mostly harm. What percentage in East Asia thought AI would mostly cause harm? Is it A, 11%, B, 36%, C, 61%, or D, 86%? Your time starts now. Not a whole lot of cooperation going on here in the studio, is there?
Hi, Nóra. So I think that it will be. I'm going for B.
So Millie thinks it's B, 36%.
Oh, we're negotiating.
Oh,
I'm not.
well, your time's up.
Oh,
so
okay. But we made progress.
I think so.
slowly bringing you to the negotiating table.
We're getting there.
Let's start. So, Millie, you've got B, 36%.
Yeah.
I've gone for A.
So, Nóra, you think only 11% of people in East Asia thought AI would mostly cause harm?
Yes.
That's the correct answer.
Oh, yes.
So that puts you on the scoreboard.
Happy days.
Our audience, incidentally, got that one wrong. They also went with Millie.
This is then all the wrong messages about people who reach out, you know, and then the kind of reward for trying to do the right thing. Same.
Keep telling yourself that. It'll be fine. Natalie.
Yes, so only 11% of people in East Asia thought were worried about AI, and the highest percentage countries were Latin America and the Caribbean, which were the most worried, with 49% of people being worried.
Excellent, thank you. So we go into our fourth question with the audience, Nóra and Millie, all tied on a magnificent 1 point each.
All to play for.
All to play for, all to play for. So, question 4, we're going to go from continents to countries. According to one 2020 survey, 72% of people in Singapore thought the development of artificial intelligence had mainly been a good thing for society. So 72% of people in Singapore, AI a good thing. But in which European country did only 37% of people think it was a good thing? The lowest of any country surveyed. Was it A, Spain, B, Germany, C, the United Kingdom, or D, France? Your time starts now.
What was the percentage?
37%.
Thank you.
I think that sounds Spanish or French.
What accent did you say it in?
Have we got some answers? I think we may do.
Why don't you tell me your answer and I'll decide if I agree with it? Like last time.
Je ne sais quoi.
Okay.
Is that a clue? Is that a bluff?
No.
I'm loving that we have a
Open
question.
to interpretation.
I'm loving we have a question about the United Kingdom and Europe, and we can't work out whether to compete or cooperate. But let's see your answers then. We've got France from Nóra. What have we got from Millie?
Hastily voting for UK.
Again, one of you's got it right. One of you's got it wrong. The correct answer is France.
Oh, yes. Woohoo!
No, you can't even complain because she
I'm worried
gave you
about
the answer.
Worried about Granny. Worried about Granny.
You should be. So, yeah, none of the other countries came close to French scepticism with 37%. Only Poland was close with 38%. And the highest percentage countries who thought that AI was mostly a good thing for society were Germany with 60% and the UK with 46%. So you couldn't have been more wrong, almost.
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 Holding to that.
I think our audience are also tending France as well, so I'm going to award them a point, which means that as we go into the final question, Nóra has 2, the audience has 2, and Millie has 1, which means that if you don't score a point, or Millie doesn't get 2 points in this one, in fact, I probably allocated the points wrongly, but hey-ho, who cares? If the audience end up with more points than you do, then all of your points are wiped out.
It's a lot of pressure.
No pressure. So, question 5. According to one 2022 poll, what percentage of Britons think that most robots have already developed higher levels of intelligence than humans? Is it A, 7%, B, 18%, C, 25%, or D, 44%?
Did you have to save the hardest question till last?
Why not?
I'm thinking you'll be quite high. I'm thinking C or D.
I'm thinking the same. Unfortunately,
We can't split it between us. If we did, would that be cooperation? I think it would, Nóra. I think if one of us
keep
went with
reaching
C-
out. I don't know why.
because I'm losing.
I respect your honesty.
If one of us goes for C and one of us goes for D, and then one of those is right, I think we share the points and we beat the audience together. What do you think?
I'm going to give you 5 seconds to decide.
It's Nóra's decision.
I'm too competitive to do anything else.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. Well, which one? What should we do jointly? Jointly CD.
So what are you going for?
I'm going for C.
CD.
So C, we've got C 25% and D 44%.
We're both going for CD.
We're both going to... Well, it doesn't matter anyway, because you're both wrong. Only 7%.
No, but it was her idea.
Natalie.
Yes, so only 7% of people think that AI is currently that intelligent, but 44% do think that robots will be able to develop that intelligence, which is actually down from 48% the year before. Meanwhile, 25% of people think robots will never be able to develop intelligence, and 18% don't know.
Excellent. Thank you. While we wait for the final result from the audience, did any of those results surprise you? There are no points for this question.
Oh, then I won't.
Then you get nothing. Saving myself for the next one.
Gruesome. This was supposed to be a bit of fun.
They were better informed than I might have thought. So it's interesting hearing the breakdown of the kind of the different expectations of different kind of aptitudes or different capabilities. Yeah.
I'd be really curious to hear the demographics of people surveyed in terms of ages, in terms of those attitudinal questions.
Yeah,
Is there much disparity across the age ranges?
Well, I don't have that information here, but I also wonder if that would...
That was a really good question. Do I get a point for that?
No. Sorry.
Yeah,
Thank you, Gavin, for being so fair.
I feel like I'm being weaponised by both sides here. This is a strange position to be in. Natalie.
I was going to say, I wonder if the percentage would be higher now, because I've seen in the news recently that, well, people have been tweeting AI is already as intelligent as a human, and I think obviously that's rubbish, but I wonder if that will have affected people's perceptions.
I think the media has a huge role in influencing people's perceptions. Same with literature, all kinds of narratives from films and TV shows. You often see people invoking Arnold Schwarzenegger as this is not where we are right now in terms of soft and hard AI. And I think it's a very powerful image for people to be able to focus on. So do you think Arnold Schwarzenegger, an image from Terminator, would have swung votes either way?
Yeah, I mean, I have seen, I run a journal club called Data Ethics Club, which is open to anyone if you want to go. But it is also, the last thing we watched was about AI in warfare. And they were saying whenever there's AI drones in the news, the pictures of Terminator like 100% of the time. But yeah, not totally accurate.
It's harder to get a picture of Skynet, I found.
Presumably the first rule of Data Ethics Club is you're allowed to talk about Data Ethics Club as long as you've got everybody's consent to do so.
Yes.
So, we've got the final results, and I think due to a spectacular fail when it comes to guessing your audience answers to that, the audience did not beat Nóra, which means that Nóra has 4 points and Millie has 2. Oh, we have some applause. That was very generous. We now move to round 2. Our second round is called Just 60 Seconds. How we talk to people about data and AI, especially those who don't think of themselves as experts on data and AI, really matters. In their attempts to do that, people have come up with some really useful metaphors. They've also come up with things like data is the new oil and AI is the new electricity. We're going to give each of our contestants a different metaphor about AI and give them 1 minute to convince us that it's a brilliant metaphor that definitely works without hesitation, repetition, or deviation. Just a minute, I hear you say. That sounds like a well-known BBC Radio 4 game. Any similarity is purely uncoincidental. But our contestants will get the full minute even if they do hesitate, repeat or deviate. You will just mark them down for it afterwards, because once you've heard from both Millie and Nóra for 60 seconds, I'll go to Natalie for her thoughts as we desperately attempt to fill time while you, our audience, votes for your favourite explanation of the metaphor. So, Millie, we're going to come to you first. Your AI metaphor is AI is the new poetry. AI is the new poetry. Take a few moments to think about it, and your 60 seconds will start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Thank you, Gavin. So AI is absolutely the new poetry. So poetry comes from the ancient Greek word poesis, which means maker. And AI is a form of making, is a form of creating in our world. Poetry, of course, isn't just the written word. It's kind of it's rhythm and rhyme and reason. And AI has both rhyme and reason, and it has patterns. It's all about patterns in AI. Pattern spotting, pattern making, and so on. AI, can it give us profound meaning? Some would say poetry doesn't, so I can't comment on that. But sometimes poetry gives us a sense of insights into ourselves, and sometimes some aspects of AI can or do, perhaps through predictive analysis and so on. But of course, what I like most about poetry is the way there's a poem for every occasion, every feeling, every event. And
10 seconds.
I think the same is true of AI. There's potentially in our bright new futures, there'll be an AI for every occasion, every event, every feeling. AI and greetings cards. I look forward to that very much.
Perfect 60 seconds. Well done, Millie. Nóra, what did you make of Millie's metaphor?
I actually just got a phone call. I need to leave straight away. It's very urgent.
Well, don't leave before we've given you yours. So your AI metaphor is AI is the new astrology. AI is the new astrology. Take a few moments to think about it. And your 60 seconds will start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
So astrology is absolutely the new metaphor for AI, because AI is one of those tools that humanity now uses to go beyond our capacities and our capabilities as they see them, and to stride forward into unknown areas and unknown frontiers. This is the very positive nature of AI as a pioneering tool, a tool for engineering. But again, just like with astrology, there is a huge amount of data that needs to be gathered. There is a huge amount of exploration that has to happen before we have any complete answers or complete insights. Often, again, with astrology, we may come across what look at first like incredibly beautiful pictures and beautiful scenes, but actually what we really need to find out is, you know, are we looking at beautiful stars and beautiful constellations, or are we just looking at bare, cold, hard rock that actually tells us very little about anything? So we always have to keep exploring and looking forwards.
Again, perfectly to time. Well done, Nóra. Millie, what did you make of Nóra's metaphor?
I wondered what your star sign might be. But I really like the role of data in that, which is really important, the role of data gathering in both astrology and in AI.
Excellent. Well, while you, our audience, votes on which of those performances you preferred, which you should be able to do using the Slido on your screen now, Natalie, what did you make of all of that?
I was very glad I wasn't doing it. And I wondered if Nóra, maybe, did you confuse astrology and astronomy?
Absolutely. I absolutely, totally did that. And I think I realised it about 30 seconds in, but then I was too far gone. So I just kept with it. And it's upsetting because I thought I could have talked more about my own horoscope as a Leo and, you know, the voracious appetites that, you know, some AI techniques have, like machine learning in terms of, you know, voracious appetites for lots of data, but perhaps not being the most discriminate. You know, all is just consumed, and then whatever is left then is the remains of the day. So yes, you're absolutely right. I squirreled that completely.
Well, like I say, I'm glad it wasn't me doing that. Poetry's a hard one too.
Well, that was all very profound. Thank you both very much. I think the audience enjoyed both of them.
There's a blog or a website called, I think, Data and Poetry, and it's looking at the way sort of like, you know, poetry is also about the gaps as well as, you know, what's written and what's unwritten, and it's the same with data, which I thought was really interesting, but which I didn't remember in time. Carry on.
So, based on the audience scores, I'm going to award Nóra 3 points.
Okay.
And Millie 7 points. Which means that Nóra is currently on 7 and Millie is currently on 9. How conveniently close these scores are for when we arbitrarily award them in the next
one. Oh my
round.
goodness.
Granny's safe again.
The granny is safe.
Thank you.
So, we're now going to move on to round 3, which is the data hazards round. A rare thing here on the data game in that it's not been shamelessly ripped off from another quiz show. I mentioned earlier that one of Natalie's projects was going to form the basis of one of our rounds, and we have now reached that round. So, Natalie, can you tell us a bit about your data hazards work, please?
Yes, so I think as we might have touched on in our discussions, data science and AI are very useful, and they're too useful for us not to use, but they can also cause harm, and we need to get a bit better at addressing that. And the point of the Data Hazards Project is to make it easier for data scientists, even data scientists like myself, to engage with ethics and sociology and things that we maybe don't have as much practice at doing compared to saying like how great our methods are. And so to do that, what we've developed is 11 labels, data hazard labels, and we've developed these with data scientists and citizens and sociologists, and anyone is very welcome to join us to help us develop those. We're at datahazards.com if you want to check out the next time we're doing something. And each of these labels, they look and are very on purpose rip-offs of chemical hazard labels, and the idea is when you see some bleach with an irritant label on it, you think, oh, this is useful for cleaning, but you know, maybe I shouldn't use this to wash my face. It's time to think, how could I use this safely? So we have 11 labels, and they usually have a description and examples of when they're useful and safety precautions. But in this round, we're not going to give you all of that. We're just going to give you the name and the image. And then Gavin's going to tell us how the round's going to work.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Natalie. So, this is how the round is going to work. Natalie has selected 4 of the 11 data hazards. For each hazard, each of our contestants will have up to 30 seconds to describe an example of data use that relates to that hazard. You can play along online by putting your examples in the chat as well. We'll hopefully read out some of the best ones and possibly some of the worst as well. So Natalie will then give us a quick real-life example, and she'll award some points depending on her favourite answer. And again, I'm sure in no way will she award those points such that our contestants go into the final round completely equal. So, for our first data hazard, we'll go to Nóra first, and then we'll go to Millie first on the second one. And I'm going to hand over to Natalie to help select the first hazard. And what we're going to ask you to do in your 30 seconds, just use an example that you've come across in real life for this one.
Cool. So who did we say was going first?
So we're going to go to Nóra first this time.
Okay, so Nóra, do you want to pick 1, 2, 3 or 4?
3.
Okay, so reveal. Okay, so the example is lacks informed consent. And you have 30 seconds to think of a scenario when this has happened in real life. Yeah, in real life.
And your 30 seconds starts now. Oh, we're going for the whiteboard approach. I wasn't expecting that.
Taking notes.
It's quite exciting.
Notes. It's not a crutch at all. It's nothing like that.
Should we do some music to fill the time?
Yeah, like
or-
do-do-do-do-do-do. This is
press my
exactly what we
buzzer.
want.
We
Yeah.
could press your buzzer now.
Yeah, that'll be really disruptive.
You've got 5 seconds left. Time's up.
So, targeted advertising and anything that anybody does on the internet that requires their consent, there is often a huge amount of information that is made available to an individual depending on what the device is, what the app is, and in terms of those terms and conditions, there has been quite the debate raging on for a long time now as to whether everybody is fully informed and is actually freely and willingly giving over all of this personal data based on all of the information that's been provided to them. So there is a bit of a fallacy about how much of a safeguard this actually is in practice, because I would be very impressed to meet the person or the group of people in the world that sit down and read the terms and conditions of absolutely every single app or shopping experience or viewing experience that they have online.
Excellent. Thank you, Nóra. For the next few, we'll ask you to talk during the 30 seconds as well, so we hear you thinking aloud as you're coming up with
okay.
those. So, Millie, we're now coming to you for your 30 seconds on an example where data lacks informed consent. So your 30 seconds starts now.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I thought that was a great example, Nóra. So a recent controversy here in the UK was the GDPR scandal, where patient data... so I shouldn't say scandal because that judges it. So when patient data was going to be aggregated, from GPs to a kind of central data platform. And what was interesting about that was that they could opt out, but the opt-out window was very narrow. I think it was about 3 weeks. It was really kind of... and I think you kind of had to opt out within that time frame, or be kind of, your data would be part of that platform, for indefinitely. So I think the stakes were perhaps not very equitable, balanced. If you did read the terms and conditions, there was a certain amount of ambiguity, I think, around the thing that most people would be most interested or concerned in, which is how their data or how data about them might be used by industry, by the private sector. So then it was really interesting because you had all these, really clear and helpful explainers, but the window was so narrow, and the lack of clarity on the things that most people had questions about made it difficult to give informed consent, and then therefore a lot of people withdrew their consent from participating in it.
Excellent. Thank you, Millie. Natalie, what did you make of those, and who are you going to give the points to?
Ooh, yeah, 2 great examples, and definitely not because she's behind. I'm going to give the point to Millie. Yeah, the examples that we have for this hazard are very similar to those. So, for example, on Twitter, anybody who's on Twitter has agreed that their
I think
data...
the points are from me because I'm behind.
Yeah, Nora's
Oh, is Nóra behind?
Just checking.
Keeping
Just
quiet
checking.
Oh no, I just must have been really worried about Granny. Yeah, the examples we have for this hazard label on the website are very similar. So the difference between what people think that they've signed up to when they've signed up to Twitter and what they actually have is quite a big difference. And so that's quite interesting. Okay, cool. So we're going to go for the next hazard.
So we will go for the next hazard, and Millie will choose the next hazard. But before we do, obviously this time round you gave us some real-life examples. What we'd like you to do for the next hazard is give us an example from a film or television programme, or one that could plausibly occur in a well-known cinematic or literary universe. And I will enforce the 30 seconds very tightly this time, because I'm looking at that clock and it is terrifying me. So, Millie, would you like to choose number 1, number 2, or number 4?
Thank you. Let's go for number 2.
So, number 2 is a blank screen.
I like it.
Danger of misuse.
Yes. So
Danger of misuse.
this means, it could mean that the technology is misused. It could mean that something that was a byproduct of the technology, like the data that was collected, was misused. So yeah, use your imagination.
So, Millie, we'll come to you first. This is from a film or TV programme, or one that could plausibly occur in a cinematic or literary universe. Your 30 seconds start now.
Brilliant, thank you. Oh, this is really exciting, and thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about X-Men 2, which is one of my favourite films, directed by Bryan Singer. And there it's really important because the state has all this data about people that have so-called mutations. I don't like that term, but it's what the state might or might not do with that data. But then a kind of positive use of that data is when Professor Xavier is sitting in the room with all the screens, and he can kind of contact all the X-Men through his mind. And that's a positive use of that data. So then it's not just about access to data and informed consent, it's also the intended use case and how that access is used. So comparing Xavier with Magneto, I think, on data about people with mutations.
Excellent.
Thank you.
That was a very good 45 seconds. So I'll give Nóra 45 seconds as well. And your 45 seconds starts
Now?
now.
Okay, well, I really love the X-Men examples. That's thrown me somewhat, but it is, of course, a film that, of course, I've just gone blank on now. Begins, the first letter of it is Westworld. There we go. That's what I'm thinking of. So effectively, we're talking about a VR world, but also a world with live robots. So this was a movie. It's now become a very popular TV show by Jonathan Nolan, I believe, and his partner. And effectively, you've got this world where data is being collected, the most sensitive of data, because people go in, they're living an experience, like they think they're in the Wild West, but all of the different robots that they're interacting with, all of this data isn't just there to make their experience more tailored to them and more convenient. Actually, what is happening, and this is unbeknownst to the user, so there is no informed consent whatsoever, everyone, is that all of their information is being kept on them and is being used for profiles by various companies, possibly other governments.
Time's up. That was a minute, sorry.
Okay.
I wanted to know where you were going with it. Thank you very much, Nóra. Natalie.
Yes, so this is an example from a film, but one of the examples on the website for this is what people could do if you put online a package that helped you create deep fakes. So you could frame people for a crime or something that wasn't the intended use.
Excellent. Who would you like to give the point to?
I think we have to give it to Millie this time.
So
The X-Men example was too good.
We're now tied on 9 points. Oh, hang on. No, well, I think I've got that wrong. I think we've got Millie on 10 and Nóra on 8, I think.
Let's say.
Let's say that. I mean, and I think we might end up getting to 10 all at some point somehow. In the interest of time, I think we might just go for one more hazard.
Yes.
Natalie, would you like to choose?
Sure. I can't remember, even though I put this slide together, I can't remember. Number 1, please.
So, reinforces existing bias, which I'll invite Natalie to say a bit more about in a second. But for this one, we'd like you to somehow tie your answer to a song or a piece of music. Because we hate you, apparently. But Natalie, would you like to quickly outline reinforces existing bias? We'll come to you first, Nóra.
Yes. So reinforces existing bias is about, there's already bias in the world. I think we all are aware of that. And without that being specifically designed for, just by using the data that is collected or by the breakdown of people who are in charge of creating the product, you end up recreating that bias in the technology.
Excellent. So I'm going to very strictly enforce the 30 seconds this time. Nóra, your 30 seconds starts now.
So the song is She by Elvis Costello, and it's linked to gendered virtual personal assistants that are given particular personalities and indeed female names, Alexa and Siri, and they're also given these quite subservient roles. So this is quite troubling in terms of the assumptions that are made about reinforcing existing gender stereotypes and sexist stereotypes. Do we want to live in a society of female servitude by default?
Excellent. Just under 30 seconds as well. Perfect. Thank you. And Millie, your 30 seconds starts now.
Thank you, Gavin. So my song choice is also about assumptions, and it's It Wasn't Me by Shaggy. And so Shaggy lists a number of scenarios which could make it look as if he's having an affair, but as he explains, it wasn't me. That's it wasn't him.
Natalie, would you like to score those? Both of them are brilliant.
Who's behind?
It's currently Nóra on 8 and Millie on 10.
Oh, I think Nóra clearly wins. Clearly wins 1 point.
It's a genuine vote, right? That's not a pity
Oh,
vote.
but
Just checking.
Yeah. No, well, I liked your description more, but I did like the choice of It Wasn't Me.
No points for Shaggy.
Excellent. Well, that brings us finally to our fourth and final round. The final round is the missing words round, or Have AI Got News for You?
Well, very nice.
Thank you.
Well done.
That took a long time. Where we've taken some headlines or some other text relating to data and AI and removed a word. This is where the buzzers come in. Our contestants can buzz in to give us answers which are entertaining, and I might award you some points, or answers which are correct, in which case I will definitely award you a point. Nóra, let's hear your buzzer. Excellent. Millie, let's hear yours.
I mean, you've heard it already. Oh, the other one,
No,
sorry.
the one that actually makes the sound.
Okay, fair enough.
Excellent. Perfect. See, I knew you were going to do that as well.
Robust testing. It's what every AI system needs.
So you, the audience, can play along by submitting your own answers in the chat for each missing word. Please keep them clean and keep them legal. We may read them out, read out some good ones if we've got time, but we may not have time. So this round will feature one, more or fewer examples from our guest publication, Prime Minister Boris Johnson's speech to the United Nations General Assembly on the 24th of September 2019.
Pink flamingos?
We haven't got to the question yet. We'll have some examples from that one.
Okay.
But interesting. Okay. So your first one is, this is a headline, Microsoft's Kate Crawford. AI is neither blank nor blank. Buzz in when you think you know it or want to be funny, or try to be. AI is neither blank nor blank. I think Millie got there first.
My suggestion is blank.
That's very profound
Thank you.
and very meta,
Thank you.
and also completely wrong.
Oh dear.
Nóra.
AI is neither cuddly nor fuzzy.
Also very good, but the correct answer is AI is neither artificial nor intelligent. The clue was sort of in the question. It's made from natural resources, and it's people who are performing the tasks to make the systems appear autonomous, according to Kate Crawford. So your next one.
This is very difficult, Gavin. This is very difficult.
You might still win. It's all right. Smart cities will pullulate with sensors, all joined together by the Internet of Things. Blanks communing invisibly with blanks.
And the answer's not blanks again.
The answer is not blanks again, unless you really want it to be. Smart cities will pullulate with sensors, all joined together by the Internet of Things. Blanks communing invisibly with blanks. Buzz in when you think you've got something. This is going extremely well,
So
isn't
profound.
it?
I mean, the answer's not very profound. If you
it's
say
not.
2 random things, you'll probably be quite close.
Yeah, 2 random things you might find in a city. Go on.
Lights communicating with cars.
It's not
Not
far
far
off.
off.
It's bollards communing invisibly with lampposts. That was, I'm sure you will be shocked to hear that was Boris Johnson at the UN.
What are they communicating about?
Who knows?
Everything.
Everything. Anything.
Skynet.
Where cars are.
Thank
Artificial intelligence can now craft original blanks, and that's no blank. AI can now craft original blanks, and that's no blank. Oh, Nóra got in there when Millie was writing.
Craft original art, and that's no lie.
That's very good, but it's not right.
I think it's sentences is the first blank. Well, no, not sentences, stories. And then I think the second blank is something like coincidence. But I think Nora's right, it might be lie, but I don't want to take her answer, so I'm going to go for stories and then miracle. That's it.
Those are both very good, but the correct answer, as reported by Time magazine in January this year, artificial intelligence can now craft original jokes, and that's no laughing matter. This is John the robot, who tells the same jokes in the same order, but listens to how the audience responds as to what line it delivers next. Apparently, if there's silence after one of the jokes, John the robot says, "Sorry about that, I think I got caught in a loop. Please tell the booking agents that you like me, that you like me, that you like me, that you like me." That's what the robot said. That wasn't me malfunctioning, I promise. So the next one, high-tech AI blank opening in Stratford.
I think it's halal butcher.
It is indeed a halal butcher's shop.
I remember seeing that news story.
So this leading halal butcher brand says its data-driven AI technology will provide customers with a tailored shopping experience. Rumours that they will also introduce an immersive virtual reality world based around German sausages have so far proven unfounded. We will sadly have to wait for the metaverse.
Not your best. Your best.
Straining at the edge there, wasn't there? It was kind of...
Possibly the worst.
Oh no.
Thank you. Yeah, that's almost worth a point. I mean, almost. So, just as the Carboniferous period created the indescribable wealth, leaf by decaying leaf, of hydrocarbons, data is the blank of the modern economy. Sometimes the obvious answer is the right one.
Not oil, is it?
It's crude oil. And that was, of course, Boris Johnson, again, to the UN. The next one is data isn't the new oil, blank is.
Oil is the new oil.
Good, but it's not right. Millie, do you want to come in with one?
AI.
It's not. It's actually time is the new oil, because apparently it's very precious, and we'd be willing to pay more time, pay more money to make that happen, apparently. And
Cook with it. Can you cook with it?
it's the other sort
The
of
other.
time.
Okay.
That was a very sage comment. That one wasn't scripted. So your final headline/extract. AI, what will it mean? Helpful robots washing and caring for an ageing population, or blank sent back from the future to cull the human race?
Arnie sent back to the future.
It's close.
Terminator.
Oh, okay.
I think Millie said it first.
Arnie and Terminator are one and the same.
Well, the correct answer was pink-eyed Terminators. It was very specific, and you'll never guess who it was that said that in
Prime
front
Minister
of the United
Boris
Nations.
Johnson.
Indeed.
Okay.
So, while I withhold the final scores just for a few moments in a desperate attempt to build some sort of suspense, I'm just going to ask you very quickly, literally one sentence, whether you learned anything or whether this has been a potentially good afternoon totally wasted. Nóra, in one sentence, what have you learnt?
That comparing astrology and astronomy via the characteristics and elements of AI are very different. But I've learned a lot. I'll ruminate greatly on that.
Excellent. Millie, one sentence, what have you learned?
I'm going to use a semicolon in my sentence first of all. So far,
I
I'm
thought you
talking in
might.
parentheses. Thank you. So I would kind of reject the framing. I don't think it's either or. Either you learned something cool, you had a good time. Of course, we did both, and no, we didn't. Because
I just want to know who's won. Then I'll tell you if I've had a good time or not.
the thing I learned, I immediately forgot as soon as I learned it, which is all the really interesting data. In fact, all the interesting statistics. And I was wrong in all my answers, and then I forgot all the right answers. Retained nothing.
There's a very profound life lesson in there somewhere. I'm not sure where, but there is one.
I think the best thing about the show has been your blazer, Gavin. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's very kind. All that effort
And I
that
think
went
it
into the
should.
script, and it's the blazer. Great. Thank you. Natalie, one sentence. What have you learned, apart from never retreat to this again?
I think like my favourite thing is Granny. I love her.
Well.
But I think, maybe I shouldn't be in charge of awarding points because, like, I'm biased.
Really biased.
I'm as
Really,
biased as AI.
You duckist.
Well, you were actually very good at awarding points because you gave us a situation where it was 12 points to 11 in the final score. And congratulations to today's winner, Millie. Well done, Millie. Commiserations to, well, all of us, really, let's be honest. I hope you've enjoyed the semi-organised chaos of the data game. I hope we raised some laughs, if not the tone. There are more AIUK events happening from 4 p.m. and all day tomorrow. I hope you'll stay around for them. But that's it from us. A huge thank you to Natalie, Millie and Nóra, to everyone at the Turing, and to all of you for joining us. Join us for the next episode of The Data Game, when another unsuspecting civil society organisation commissions an episode thinking it would be a fun interlude during their flagship event and immediately regrets it. Thank you and goodbye.